All right, deep divers. Welcome back. You ready to get a little weird today?
Always up for a good dose of weirdness, especially when it comes to physics.
Well, you're in the right place then, because today we're going deep on Aether. But hang on, not the kind of ether that physicists threw out with the bathwater a century ago. You guys sent in some excerpts that put a whole new spin on this idea. And let me tell you, it's a doozy.
Aether, it's a word that definitely evokes images of Victorian scientists and, well, a lot of wrong turns in physics, right?
Exactly right. Like the luminiferous ether, that supposed medium for light waves to travel through. Yeah, Einstein kind of put the kibosh on that one with relativity. And don't even get me started on mechanical gravitational ether.
Ah, those were the days when we thought we could explain everything with gears and pulleys.
But here's the thing. These excerpts argue that ether has gotten a bad rap, that the whole problem is it implies a background, a separate something for other things to exist in.
Okay, I'm intrigued already.
Me too. And get this. The source claims there's not two things, but only one.
Okay, now we're talking.
There is no background.
Oh,
right.
wow.
So are they saying ether is a no-go?
Pretty much. They're pushing for a way bigger idea. We gotta ditch this separate background stuff and think of space itself as the fundamental thing.
Wait, so space IS the stuff?
Yeah. They call it CSpace, short for changing space.
Changing space? Hold on. How can space change? That sounds kind of impossible.
It does, right? It's like a total mind flip. Picture space not as empty, but as this dynamic thing, like a fabric that's always shifting and moving.
Okay.
Instead of things existing in space, everything's part of this one CSpace that's constantly evolving.
Whoa. So, like, instead of planets flying through ether, they're actually part of this C-space that's always in motion.
Bingo. The text argues this CSpace idea helps us grasp how everything in the universe is connected.
Connected how?
Well, take gravity. Maybe it's not a force working across empty space, but a result of CSpace bending and warping itself.
But why ditch the word ether completely? Do ether and C-space not mean kind of the same thing? Now, Broglie said something really interesting. I'm going to quote it here. Any particle ever isolated has to be imagined as in continuous energetic contact with a hidden medium.
Broglie, huh? Always a thinker ahead of his time. So what's that quote mean in layman's terms?
Basically, it means that even a single particle, all by itself, isn't really alone. It's always interacting with this unseen something.
It does kind of make you think of that old school ether concept, right? This mysterious substance that permeates everything.
Yeah, there are definite echoes there. But our source goes even further, suggesting that this hidden medium is actually the fundamental reality itself.
Hold on now, there's a problem with that, isn't there?
Because if you could, that would go against Einstein's theory of relativity.
Exactly. Relativity tells us there's no fixed background in the universe. Everything is relative. It all depends on the observer's motion. So how does the source reconcile this CSpace concept with Einstein's findings?
Well, they kind of throw the whole traditional idea of ether out the window. They argue that the problem is always thinking about it as two things. The ether and something separate interacting with it.
It's like that classic physics example of a fish swimming in water.
Right.
You've got the water, which is the background, the medium, and then you've got the fish representing energy moving through it.
Right. But the source says, nope. What if there's only one thing?
Okay, so no separate background.
No separate background. Instead, there's just this one fundamental entity, this C-space. And everything we perceive as energy or matter is just different aspects of that same thing.
So to stick with your analogy, it's like saying the fish eyes the water. It pushes us to think beyond our current models, beyond those neat categories we've created for understanding the universe.
And what are the implications of all of this? Like, why should our listeners care about this single object idea?
Well, think about it. If everything is ultimately connected as part of the C-space, then maybe the laws of physics as we know them are just emergent properties of this deeper unified reality.
Okay, I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
I mean, that could completely change how we understand gravity, quantum mechanics, everything. It's a whole new playing field, ripe for exploration.
It makes you rethink the entire universe. But here's something to think about. If everything's linked inside this C-space, what does that mean for us? Where do we fit in all of this?
Now that is a deep dive for another day.
That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening and keep those questions coming. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.